The lament of Chateau de Brome in the heart of France's Loire Valley, hidden among the sprawling vineyards and ancient forests, lies Chateau de Brome, a castle whose beauty belies the darkness within its stone walls. This tale unfolds in the late autumn of 1987, when the leaves had turned to shades of ochre and the air was crisp with the promise of winter. Our protagonist, Julien Marchand, was a historian specializing in medieval architecture, driven by a passion to document and preserve the fading stories of France's chateaux. Chateau de Brome was his latest project, a castle rumored to be cursed, its history marred by tragedy and mystery. Julien arrived just as the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the castle's silhouette. The estate had been abandoned since the early 20th century when the last of the Brome family, Camille Brome, vanished under mysterious circumstances. The village nearby spoke of her in whispers, calling her La Dame de Brome, the Lady of Mist, for she was last seen walking into a thick fog that never cleared. The castle was massive, with turrets that pierced the sky and walls that whispered tales of old. Julien was greeted by the estate's caretaker, an old man named Henri, whose eyes held the weight of many untold stories. Henri warned Julien about staying overnight, speaking of the castle's curse where time itself seemed to play tricks. Ignoring the warnings, Julien set up his camp in what used to be the Grand Library, now filled with dust-covered tomes and cobwebs. As night fell, the castle seemed to come alive. The wind howled through the corridors, sounding almost like voices from the past. Julien's first night was uneventful until the stroke of midnight, when he heard soft footsteps outside his door. He opened it to find nothing but an echo of laughter that faded into silence. Shaking off his unease, he returned to his notes, but sleep was elusive. The next day was dedicated to exploring the castle. Each room told a story, the ballroom with its faded grandeur, the dining hall where a banquet for ghosts seemed to be set, and the chapel, where the air was thick with the scent of incense long burned out. But it was in the east wing, where the Brome family's private quarters lay, that Julien felt the presence most strongly. In one bedroom, he found a diary, its pages yellowed and brittle. It belonged to Camille Brome. The entries spoke of love, sorrow, and a growing fear of something lurking in the castle. The last entry was dated the night she disappeared, ending abruptly with "The mist is coming for me." That evening, Julien decided to investigate the castle's gardens, where Camille was last seen. The fog was unusually thick, a palpable entity that seemed to move with purpose. As he walked deeper, he heard whispers, not of the wind but of voices, calling Camille's name. Suddenly, the mist parted, revealing a figure, a woman in a gown from another era, her hair flowing like the mist around her. She looked at Julien with eyes that held both sadness and warning. Before he could react, she vanished, and the fog closed in, leaving him disoriented. Back in the castle, Julien's research took a dark turn. He found references to an ancient pact made by the Brome family with a spectral entity, promising protection in exchange for one soul from each generation. The curse was to be broken only if someone could navigate the mist and confront the entity on its own terms. Driven by curiosity and a sense of duty to uncover the truth, Julien prepared for the next night. He gathered what he believed to be protective items from Camille's room, a silver mirror, a rosary, and her diary. As midnight approached, the fog began to seep into the castle, its tendrils like fingers reaching, searching. Julien stood in the garden, the mist so dense he could barely see his hands in front of him. The whispers returned, now more urgent, more numerous. The figure of Camille appeared again, this time closer, her presence more palpable. She spoke, her voice echoing through the fog. "You must see through the mist, not with your eyes, but with your heart. Only then can you free us." Taking her words to heart, Julien closed his eyes, focusing on the essence of the castle, its history, and the lives that had passed through its halls. When he opened them, the world had changed. the fog was no longer an obstacle, but a medium through which he saw the spectral forms of the Broom family, bound to the castle by the curse. At the heart of this spectral congregation was a dark, amorphous figure, the entity of the pact. Julian, armed with Camille's items, approached. The mirror reflected not the entity but a void, the rosary glowed faintly, and the diary seemed to thrum with life. Confronting the entity, Julian spoke of understanding, of breaking the cycle of pain. He read aloud from Camille's diary, her last words, her plea for freedom. The entity, perhaps moved by the sincerity or the power of the items, began to dissipate, its form unraveling into wisps of smoke. As it vanished, the fog lifted, revealing the stars above. The spirits of the Broom family, now at peace, faded into the night, their chains finally broken. Julian felt an overwhelming sense of relief and accomplishment, but also an immense sadness for the lives lost to superstition and fear. The next morning, the castle was lighter, as if a shadow had been lifted. Henri, who had watched from afar, approached Julian with a mixture of awe and gratitude. The village soon learned of the night's events, and Chateau de Broom slowly became known not as a place of curse, but of history reconciled. Julian left Chateau de Broom with a story unlike any other, his understanding of the past forever changed. He wrote a book, not just about the architecture but about the lives that had shaped it, ensuring that the legacy of the Broom family would be one of healing rather than haunting. But on some nights, when the mist descends upon the Loire Valley, one might still hear the faint laughter of Camille Broom, now free to wander without the chains of her family's pact, her spirit finally at peace. This tale of Chateau de Broom encapsulates the themes of love, loss, redemption, and the enduring power of human connection against the backdrop of history and the supernatural.